Welcome to the Dadas Show. It's Sunday, it's 4 p.m. You're on KBC Channel 1. You are watching the Dadas Show. Karibuni sana. Today, as always, we have a great show. Joining us is Dr. Mwende, Karibu sana Daktari, and we'll be talking about gender-based violence. So this is a big word that we're going to break down into how this affects us as women. So Karibu Daktari.
Asante.
You're good?
I'm good, yes. Thank
First
you.
of all, you look amazing.
Thank you.
Yes, everybody who comes on this show looks just amazing. You look beautiful.
Like a woman.
Yeah, like a good dada.
Yeah.
Like a good dada, you've brought your A game to the show.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Tell
you.
us a bit about yourself.
Thank you.
Pauline.
Pauline, I grew up in a little village called Rekanau, down in Mbeere South, Embu County. So I went to an ordinary rural school without proper doors, without proper windows. And so my early life was right there in the village, drawing water, collecting firewood like every other child, looking after goats. You know, I went through all the kind of hardships that you can expect from a rural village, without electricity, without running water, without proper roads, and without many women to look up to. I would say education was very low in my village. I think there was only one girl that I knew that was in university at that time. And, you know, it was like dark. Yeah. And I had to just grow up and then find what would be ahead. Rekanau Primary School, my little primary school that later on was flattened when they constructed Masinga Dam. It reminds me of very many things. But what it reminds me of mostly is the amount of gender-based violence that was there.
Really?
Boys beating girls, teachers beating girls because they did not comply with the advances, teachers sexually abusing children, you know. But I remember my school also because it was there that I learned that sexual violence was real at my early age of around 10 years. And the teacher sent us to the river. And when we were coming back from the river, I was carrying this little 5-liter jerry can, and I was so tiny. It's like teachers had no mercy that time. Eh? I guess they were just sending the class to the river. So I was the last girl. And we were to the river. There was a bush between the school and the river. And so while I was walking back, there was a boy who walked behind me. And then he tried to defile me. He tried to rape me. Imagine we are in the same class. We are barely 9. But he knows these things. He's trying to actualize on me. Okay, that's where I learned to fight. And that's where I learned that gender-based violence is real. I ended up with some injuries on my leg, which the scars are still there to this day. And they remind me that it's important to fight in this life. Yeah. Yes. But from there, from Rekanau Primary, I went to Machakos Girls High School, where I'm grateful to my teachers because I got a lot of nurturing, a lot of support from our school principal then, Mrs. Kilonzo, an amazing lady. It was a girls' high school.
Thankfully.
Yes, thankfully. And the teachers were very consistent. They were deliberate about talking about sexual violence, especially boy-girl relations. You know, if you're not careful, men will defile you, men will finish your career, they'll, abruptly end your education. I was there for 6 years. So I benefited so much from what the school was able to give. And once again, I paid tribute to my old school principal, Mrs. Kilonzo, Monica. She was amazing. Day one, Form 1, now girls, you must be careful. You must take care of yourselves. Yes. And that was every other day at assembly. At the closing day assembly, that was emphasized. You must remember in this life, you're on your own. Fight for yourself. Don't allow yourself into risky behavior.
Yes.
Do not allow yourself into funny places. She had this thing about funny places. She used to talk about funny places. So I learned. Through that nurturing, through the mentorship programs that the school had, I gained some sort of stamina, stability. And because of that, of course, that is not to say there were no some of the wayward teachers there, but I fought. So after fighting in primary school, I realized in high school I had to fight. And actually, I will say to you and to Dadas that I had to fight 3 teachers at 3 different occasions who attempted to rape me. Literally. But remember, the spaces for communicating, for saying this and this has happened, were not as they are today. They were not there. And always I ask myself, if I go before the principal and say the teacher did this and this, will I be taken seriously?
No. Because
will I not be blamed?
You
yes,
and the teacher,
yes.
The teacher wins.
Will the teacher not deny?
Yes,
The
yes.
teacher might just call me indisciplined. The principal might not believe me. And I had to go through that. But in the course of all that, I realized the best protector against gender-based violence was self. Just being able to say no and being able to stamp your foot and insist that the answer is no. And then from high school, I went to university. I went to more university. And surprising, the story continued. And I will never forget. And as I speak to the Dadas in this country and to the rest of the world, when women stand up for one another, there will be change. I remember one encounter with an old professor, and this guy was insisting that I had not done the exam. You did not sit the exam. And I'm saying, no, I even signed the roll. Why don't you produce a roll and I show you where I signed? And I'm saying, no, it's your word against mine now. Listen, you did not do the exam. And because I was confident I had done the exam, and I knew there was a roll that we had signed, I think I shouted at him. And I told him, I don't care, you can do what you want. In the process, a lady professor from the next office heard Dr. Mwende. I owe her a lot. And I'm forever grateful to her. Because she walked into that office. She opened the door and walked in. And she said, well, she asked, what's happening, Joan? And because I was a student leader, so all the lecturers knew me. Dr. Mwende faced the professor and said, leave this girl alone. And then she told me, you go, I'll sort it out. I've never been so happy. I left with the confidence that Dr. Mwende was going to deal with it, and she did. But what happened? At the end of the day, this guy gave me a very low grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gave me a D.
Yes, yes.
But
I'll be honest that I also have several Ds. I was sharing, I have several Ds in my transcripts. From encounters, from shares with professors who called me to offices and threatened me. And I said, no. And I failed the exam.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Let me fail. But that was not the worst. The worst was yet to come. In my 3rd year, one of the lecturers, he comes up and says, you have to go out with me. I said, no, I can't go out with you. And he insists. And I think this was, part of it was naivety. I knew I wasn't going to. I said, okay, now, remember, I'm in my university, Eldred. I tell him, let's meet in Kisumu. I decided to punish him for his indiscipline. Remember those days there were no mobile phones? Eh?
Yes, there were no mobile phones.
Thank God.
Yes, thank God.
So find me in Kisumu. He went to Kisumu.
The fellow went to Kisumu.
The fellow
and
went to Kisumu.
My fear for you is what grade you are going to get. I'm even afraid.
He went to Kisumu and waited for me. I was just excited in my room, just saying, you must still be waiting. But that was naivety because Monday was still coming.
Monday came.
Monday showed up.
Monday showed up, and it was time for the exam. The continuous assessment
Now,
of the exam is when things begin to show
when Monday
up.
came, he came to class furious. You know, I'm laughing. I've told my friends, watch the show.
Yes.
He comes to class, he's furious. He's looking at me like he wants to shoot me dead. And the class ends, and he calls me outside. What happened? I was stupid enough. I should have said I felt sick.
I know. Thinking back now today, you are thinking, you should have said, I was not feeling well.
But you know, that would have created space for another similar engagement.
Yeah.
So I looked at him and I said, well, I decided not to come. And he's like, what? I traveled all the way to Kisumu and you... I said, no, it's not going to happen. No, sorry, I'm not interested. It's not going to happen. He said, if you don't comply, I'll make sure you fail. I said, look, excuse me. You will make sure I fail. How do you make sure I fail? I've already learned what I needed to learn. Material is in my head.
Yes.
What you're going to put on paper won't bother me. I dare you. You see, when I'm talking like this, I'm not imagining that this man can go to that, can sink that low. Now we're in third year. We're in second semester. So we're actually winding up. Shock on me.
Yes.
Shock on me. Those days we used to be posted after before graduation, you're posted to the field. So I'm posted to this rural school. I start teaching. One afternoon, my head teacher shows up with a letter. It's a supplementary.
Wow.
And
now you cannot graduate.
My heart bled. No, the supplementaries were before. God. That was my best unit. I have a supplementary in my best unit. I tried to think what to do. The channels for redress were not there.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I think, cases of students petitioning against lecturers were very...
Especially ladies.
They were unheard of.
They were unheard of.
Who are you telling or what are you saying? What is all this? What's big deal?
And remember the patriarchy of university, the university system, eh?
The chancellor,
the
vice chancellor, the
you know how it
deputy,
is, eh?
the whole
the
chain,
dean of students.
the dean of students,
Everybody.
all the way to head of department.
Exactly.
They were all men. So where do you start that conversation? And then you look so offside. That time, you would have looked very offside. What manner of issue are you bringing? So I went back to do my supplementary. I confronted that lecturer. And I told him, I know I passed the exam. The only exam that I did not pass is the Kisumu one, which I'm never going to pass anyway. For now, you have answers in the original script. I have not come to sit a supplementary exam. I have come to comply with a requirement, but I know that I passed that exam. If you push me beyond this point, I know what I will do. So we shall agree. My business is to write my name on that script. And you go and copy the answers from the original script. We left on that note. Anyway, by God's grace, I'm here.
A real doctor.
But you know, because this man had was a lecturer, that was part of what actually motivated me to go for this PhD. It was like, I want to teach that man a lesson. I want him to know that his decision does not determine anybody's future incomplete. So I thought that was the end. In between, while I was still in university, we have been sent for teaching practice. And you know, institutions used to commit to the universities, there's accommodation for the student teacher and whatnot. I go to this school. I had been told there's a house, there's accommodation. And the principal, upon seeing me, decides, now the accommodation that I'm giving you is my guest wing. In my naivety. Remember, I'm looking at him, I'm seeing this is an elderly man, he's whatever, his wife is one of the employees of the school. So I feel like I convinced myself that it's okay. I did not know that the guest wing was inside his house. As in, there's one main door, main entrance, and this is a guest wing. So
it's a bedroom, actually.
It's a bedroom.
It's a bedroom inside his house.
He called it a guest wing. But thank God, I put my stuff there, and I come back to the staff room. And my colleagues ask me, so where are you staying? And I say, oh, in the principal's guest wing. And they go, oh my God, do you know him? And I say, no. One of my colleagues said, there is a house where you are supposed to stay. This man is a molester. Oh, wow. Go get your stuff from him. You must find a way of getting your stuff from that house. And get out of that house before the night falls. That is a lady speaking, and I'm grateful to her. So what do? I go pick my stuff. But remember, it's a new place. I don't know.
And you don't know that. You don't know anything.
But by God's grace, luckily, my friend is doing teaching practice in a neighboring school. She's been accommodated by one of the ladies. Do you know, I went there. Wow. I went, carried my bags right there, and I said, I'm desperate. Here I am. So we had a conversation with the housemate, with the owner of the house, and she agreed to accommodate both of us in a neighboring school. Now let my woes begin.
Of course.
When the principal comes in the night and I am not in that place, the next day is a summons. So where did you sleep? I said, oh, I decided to go and share a house with my colleague in the next school. You see, there was no way I was going to tell him, I have been told your story. So I shared that house. And a month later, a month into the teaching practice, the principal calls me and says, you know the key to that house where you were supposed to stay had got lost, but they have made another key.
So here is the key to your house now.
Here is the key to your house. You can occupy your house now. I don't want when your lecturers come on assessment to find that I didn't give you a house and I had committed to the university. So I get into that house. It was another nightmare. That principal would bang the door at 2 a.m. Literally banging at my door until my colleagues in the staff room would say, you either decide to open that door or leave that house because we are tired of being woken up at those wee hours. It's the staff quarters. And he's banging at my door and calling out loud. So one day I got tired. I got fed up and I said, I better deal with it because it's now too much. By that time, he's making all sorts of problems for me. He's denying me chance to coach basketball, which I loved coaching. He doesn't want me in any co-curricular activities. He's treating me like I don't belong to the school. So I decided to deal with it. And on this day, he came, he banged around the main door, he came around, banged the kitchen door, until he came and banged my window. Now it was like he was about to break my bedroom window. So I woke up and opened the window. And I told him everything I thought of him. The next day, I found a letter, a show cause letter. And he was telling me to quit, to leave the schoolhouse within 48 hours. Yes.
Wow.
To leave the schoolhouse within 48 hours because I have misused the schoolhouse. Been misusing the schoolhouse. Wow. So I did a very nice response to him. And this is one of the things that I would like ladies to pay attention to. Because you can be harassed as long as you keep the harassment to yourself you can continue being harassed. But the day you take action, decisive action, at least something will happen. Listen to what happened. I took his letter, I sat down, I shared it with my staff mates. I read it loud. And they said, we knew that was coming. It was a matter of time. So what are you going to do? You're supposed to live in 48 hours. 48 hours. Where do you get a house in 48 hours? And then where do you get money? I'm a student. I'm a student on practice. So I wrote back. But I did not just write back to him. I wrote back to him and copied the district education officer. I copied the provincial education officer. I copied it to the Teacher Service Commission. Hallelujah.
Wow.
I took it to him. And I copied it to the university also, because the university needed to know that I was going through something. So now, those days there was EMS. Before giving him his letter, I went to EMS and I put all those copies, I posted them by EMS. And I came back, stay put, gave him his copy. When he saw copy too, he shook. You see, because he had already spoiled the relationship, I decided let us fight to the end.
Yeah.
So, at that point, he has given me notice. I have responded. And this is how I wrote the letter. You have alleged that I have misused the schoolhouse, and that is why I must vacate. I do not understand the meaning of misusing. And if misusing of schoolhouse means not opening for you at 2 a.m. when you've been banging my door, then I'm afraid I have not misused the schoolhouse. You are indeed the one misusing the schoolhouse. I quoted all the instances where the head teacher had sexually harassed me. This teacher would even call me to the office and say, oh, in case you need some money, I can give you money. I say, the university gave me money when I was leaving, when I was coming to this assignment. I don't need money. I don't need your money. So all these attempts at intimidation and whatnot, when they failed, and he issued me that quit notice, it was like the climax of it. But see how God works. The same day that I have got his letter to quit the house, it is the same day the assessors from the university are landing. So as I'm settling down and trying to figure out my next move, the team arrives. And I'm not in class because I'm traumatized. I'm in pain. So
You are sending letters through EMS.
I've been sending letters. I did not have time to go to class. I had to respond.
Yes.
I don't think the principal saw it coming.
Yeah.
He did not expect me to respond. Now, I told you earlier that I was a student leader. So all this time, all these encounters, I'm thinking, I'm a student leader. So many of the girls in the university, they look up on me.
Yeah.
So what report will I send back? Will I take back? That, oh, I went and life was so difficult, I cohabited with the principal? So I gave them the letter, my response.
Oh, the university, you even give them a copy.
I had sent the vice chancellor a copy. So now they have come, I gave them a copy. I said, this is what is happening as per today. There were 3 men. They read, I remember one of them commented, you have summarized this man's career. But you see, at that particular point, I needed help, and I needed help fast and furious. I waited for this guy to the principal to react to my letter. That shut him down. It was like the end of his game. But now listen to what will happen, how they'll handle the case. The 3 professors took us somewhere secluded under a tree so that we can have this conversation with the principal.
Tumalize hii maneno.
Tumalize hii maneno.
Wacha kuharibia mzee maneno. Sasa mzee ana karibu afike pension.
Yes.
Nataka kumpeleka nyumbani
Sasa,
na hii.
Hii maneno mmepeleka mbali sana, mngekuwa mmesikizana. So, they said, from the discussions we've had, because they had their own discussion, after they read the letter, they disappeared and they came back. We'd like to understand what is happening, what is the problem, because we see when a principal you've been having a problem, it looks like you're having a problem with our student. What is the problem? From his own mouth, he said, this lady, Miss Kiema, that was my official name. Miss Kiema is a very good teacher. I have been to her classes and observed her teaching. In fact, my students like her very much, but I can't stand her.
Wow, why? Any ideas?
They did not pursue that line. So he said he could not stand me. They did not ask me for my input. They said, now, Ms. Kiema, because we see you're not agreeing with the principal, we have decided that you move to another school, and we have found you another school. That was the verdict.
Wow, from the three wise men.
Yes. I said, no, I'm not going. This principal has told you that I am a good teacher. I have done my work, that I have no problem with my students. The principal has told you that because he knows the truth about his own behavior. When I was leaving the university, I was told to come and teach students. I was not told to come and teach the principal. The principal is not my student. I have done my assignment. If you're sending me to another school so you can please the principal, I'm afraid. I'm not willing. I want to teach here until I complete my practice. Now put yourself in the shoes of those three male professors.
Very conflicted.
Yes.
Because it's their fellow men,
Yeah.
their fellow man.
Yes.
And I can see them, it could have been them.
Yes. I said, I am not going. I am not boarding.
I'm not boarding.
I'm not boarding. But when I looked at them and the frustration and confusion, I got a quick answer for them. I said, but I would like you to help me to leave this house according to the principal's instruction. I need your help to find another house and to leave the school before the end
Of the day.
Yes. Thankfully, they took that quickly.
Of course.
That was
it was a saving grace.
a saving, yes. So they went, they found me a house, they paid the rent for the period, the remaining period for my practice, and they came, they collected me, picked myself and my luggage to the new house.
So we have to take a break.
Yes, yes.
But I think from your story, you're quite the fighter. So I want to, we'll talk about how you fought your way to become a daktari.
Yes.
But also, I love the fact that you have lessons or nuggets of truth about gender-based violence
Yes.
that we need to hear about.
Yes.
What are some of the things, because you've painted quite a picture
Yes.
from when you're young, that these things happen all the time.
Yes.
That women are going through gender-based violence at the workplace
Yes.
of all types.
Yes.
And that at the end of the day, we as women must begin to stand up and
Confront.
say and confront gender-based violence. We are
Yes.
not going to wait for some organization.
No.
There will be no savior.
No, 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 no.
It will be, there will be no three wise men.
You are your number one
We
savior.
are our number one savior.
Yes.
So we have to learn how to confront these things.
How to confront these things, and also those of us, I would say, in privileged positions, like if you're a woman manager, you're a woman supervisor, you're a woman at a higher level than the other woman, stand up for
Other women.
for other women.
Yeah.
Stand up.
Okay.
Be there to help even the men understand, because my understanding right now and from my experience is that there are very many men who do not have the emotional maturity to deal with their sexuality.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going into a break. We'll be right back with Dr. Don't go too far. Welcome back. Before we went into a break, we were talking about gender-based violence in the workplace with Dr. Mwende. Dr. Thank you very much. The stories you've shared were beyond shocking, especially the last one. And your story is long and rich. So tell us about some of the roles that you are now. I know you do a great many things. You're very accomplished. What are some of the things you're doing now?
Thank you, Pauline. Currently, as you might be aware, I'm the County Executive Committee member for Trade, Tourism, Investment and Industry at Embu County. But I'm the immediate former chair for the Gender Caucus. My other docket was, I was County Minister for Gender, Children, Culture and Social Services, which I loved very much. And within that, I was elected as a national chair for the CEC's caucus on gender.
Wow.
That means I was in charge of the 47 county ministers' affairs on gender.
Yay.
And that gave me a very nice space to interact with the very senior women in the country, including the head of public service, the CS public service, you know, including all the lady governors in this country. And I pay tribute to Her Excellency, the Governor of Kirinyaga, Anne Waiguru, and Her Excellency, Charity Ngilo.
Wow.
Because when I was the chair for the Gender Caucus, we also came up with this Women in Leadership program, and we had fantastic training for women. And I recall these ladies, the governors came to speak to the ladies. It was awesome training. And so now coming back to your question.
But you are also an academician.
Yes.
Yes, tell us a bit about that. You have a whole other portfolio
Yes.
as an academician, isn't it? Because
Yes.
you're a doctor.
I hold a PhD in education. I specialize in communication technology, or Comtech. But my research, I focused on my passion. I investigated sexual abuse of children by teachers. Wow. Sexual abuse of school children by teachers, and I did that research in Makueni.
Wow.
And that, actually, it left my heart bleeding. To see just how much sexual violence there is in our schools by the very people who are supposed to protect children. But I have also come to appreciate that it's like a web. Yeah. Sexually abused people, sexually abused children are likely to be sexually harassed adults.
Yeah.
That network that is instigated at that early age is likely to make these children more vulnerable in their later life to sexual violence. Yeah. And some of them, they will tend to lean towards sexual harassment of others, or make themselves readily available for sexual harassment. And maybe with that, I would just go back to the workplace, because I know Dadas watching that many of them have probably encountered these things at the workplace. I will say in every space that I have been, workplace, I have encountered sexual harassment. But I thank God, because I have come to understand the game called sexual harassment from a bigger picture. I look at it differently now that I have been through that across all the, you know, the spectrum of the places I've been to.
Allow me to ask you
Yes.
one. As a politician.
Yes.
Because I can only imagine. I'm
Yes.
even afraid.
Yes.
I'm afraid even as I ask this question.
Yes.
What are the prevalent ways in which sexual harassment happens when you put yourself out to become a politician?
I would like us to understand one thing. There is no life for a politician and for a politician woman and life for another woman. I think the problem is the same. And I remember a couple of years back when I was head of gender at the Teacher Service Commission, and I thank God that the commission exposed me to a lot of training around gender-based violence. I remember in one workshop, the one and only Njokindungu, the proponent of Sexual Offences Act, she said to us, don't think that you're being sexually harassed because you're at a lower grade. Even for us, she was saying even for us, and remember she was in parliament, even for them as parliamentarians, they had the same problem. But it's about how do you deal with it? Because again, I would not want men to think that we're all aggressing, we're all thinking ill of men. There are definitely good men, and there are men who are very who are very upright. There are men who are very high in integrity, and there are others who are not. Let me say this. At one point in high school, and this is a story I've never told anyone.
Oh, please tell us. Thank you, Jesus.
When
Tell
I
us the
felt
story.
threatened, just after Form 4, and we had this outing, you finish exams and the school has allowed you to go out. And I went out with friends. And I didn't know they intended to stay that long. I didn't know they intended to stay into the night. So in my naivety, I'm sitting there at a restaurant and I'm thinking they're coming back, but they're not. And guess what? This guy from a neighboring school happens around. He was still a student. He was a Form 5 student, but a school prefect. And we sit there, and I think my friends are coming back, and we're wondering, how are we getting back to school now? It's dark. And I say to the guy, please escort me back to school. And he says, between where we are and the school, there's that place where they just killed a man 3 days ago. It's a dangerous place. I don't know. Let me see if my schoolmates, my colleague prefects are around. They were hunting for boys who were, yes? And so he comes back and tells me, imagine there's no one. So we hatched this scheme. And I'm saying this so that women, Dadas, you learn to pay attention and you learn not to judge. That every time you're given a report, you will sit back, first of all, breathe in and ask yourself, what could it be before you make judgment? If I tell you I slept in the school dormitory, the boys' dormitory in a school, I'm sure you say, oh, my mother would have hanged me. And if the school principal heard that there was a girl who slept in the dormitory,
well,
maybe somebody's already saying, oh my God, this one. Oh, let me tell you, we hatched a scheme with that young man. He would go open for me his cubicle. I slept there because it was the only available hiding place at that particular point. I would hide in his cubicle until 9 o'clock the next day when the other students are in class. Then you'd come and open for me. That's exactly what happened. Now, shocker for the parents.
So there are still good men.
My brother was in that school, by the way. I think he was in the same dormitory.
I think he's had you.
But I hid.
I think you're in trouble. Eh?
That young man hid me in the dormitory. It was the only safe place.
Yeah.
He hid me in his cubicle. If his principal had learned of it, he would have been expelled from school.
It's true.
Now, at the workplace, there are good people and bad people, and societies like that. So it is not because I'm a politician that I'm exposed to bad men. No, there are also good politicians. They are good men.
How do you as a woman, first of all, know the good men?
You know, a woman has something called the sixth sense, the instinct. As a man says hello to you, you can tell whether that is hello of respect and distance, space, or it's a hello of, I want to get closer. And let me also tell you this. People don't always want to get closer to you because they have sexual intentions. Because this is one area where women are losing out. Everybody saying, every male saying hello to you, you start suspecting them. I think it is unfair. It is good to have healthy relationships, and I'll tell you, as you're working at the workplace, when you have a combined team of men and women, you deliver results, as long as they are focused on the business. But one bad relationship can destroy outcome, outputs at the place of work. But how do you know that this one is ill-intentional? You know, a man will not just come straight and you see them coming. You are able to tell. He said good morning to me twice yesterday. Why are you saying good morning twice to me? We're in the same building. Why are you saying good morning twice? You already said good morning to me. Why are you coming to my office? If he has come to your office, is there something specific he wants to talk about? Is it business? Or he's coming, I just came to say hello. Why did he just come to say hello? I'll share some of the experiences. Met a young man, much younger than me, in the corridor one morning, and he said, oh, Mrs. He's even calling me Mrs. He knows that I'm married, but he's not embarrassed to say, Mrs., can I come and visit you? How will you react?
Go away and never
No,
come.
no, 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 no. My attitude is,
God forbid.
sure, you're very welcome, provided you bring your wife and kids. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If he can come to visit me and bring his wife and kids, and I bring my husband and my kids, let him sit down and table his agenda. He's come visiting. Because at the end of the day, you must not kill the humanity. The human being is always craving for love, to be understood, for significance. I want belonging and significance as a human being. If we kill that at the place of work, we lose out on very important elements that contribute to performance.
But what about the many times when women are put in spots, like for example, to get a promotion, you have to do certain things?
You will put, the truth is, yes, you'll be put on the spot. A man will come like, you see what I had to sacrifice? I got an E. But what did I make away with? My dignity. If I got an A that was bought through a sexual favor, then what would that A look like? What would be in my conscience right now? There are things that women have lost. Women have lost opportunities. It is true. And I think earlier on, I was remembering a moment when I had been picked for an assignment outside. Not an assignment, but a forum, a workshop, which was in another country. And I was excited. I think it was like my first time to go on such a workshop. I had told my family that I would be going out of the country. My children had made shopping lists. And then a few days before then, this HR officer called me and said, I just want to tell you your name has been removed from the list. My sixth sense told me something. I said, thanks. And I left. It's not oxygen. It's not a matter of life and death. I left him to sort his mind out and to sort his conscience out. I did not want to engage in how can you, why. After all, I'm not the one who had appointed myself. I had not even known about that before he told me. So I went and I stayed put and I never bothered. To this day, I never asked him what happened. There is another moment when I remember one of my male colleagues saying, I asked that male colleague, how come you took junior officers to that forum? And it was for senior officers. And I'm a senior officer. I expected to be there. And he was very forthright with me. He told me we couldn't take you. I asked him why. He said, there's no benefit in taking you. I asked him what benefit. So he looked at me like, you should know. I said, oh, you mean sexual benefit? Yes, you mean sexual benefit? He smiled sheepishly. So I told him, now if that is the benefit you'd expect from me to go on such kind of forums, please go and delete my name and delete even in the future lists, because I won't be going. You see, when you put your intentions clear, when you make your script open, because the one problem that we have, that there is with many women, they are always in between. The man cannot tell whether you're saying yes or no. You say yes now, but you mean no. Or you say no, but you're meaning yes. And then the women have to decide what they want. Do you want the dignity, or you want the opportunity? Some of the opportunities are neither here nor there. Why are you looking? Leave it. When men realize that no woman is taking it, they will bring all of them back to the women. But because there's always a woman who will step into that space, when I have been denied the opportunity because I have refused to go out with somebody, and then you come quickly and jump in there, what are you doing as a woman? You're basically finishing the other woman. If I learn that a woman has been denied an opportunity because of something like that, I stand up for them. I will ask the man, why? No, let her go. No, add her in that list. But I know not many women have the courage to do that. One, because they fear. They feel like that will make them more vulnerable to the same thing. But that does not make you more vulnerable. It just makes the man understand that you have a stand, and that you know what you want, and that you're not willing to tolerate the behavior.
Has it taken you longer to do the things you've done because you've had a stand?
I have seen myself lose opportunities. But what I say is, even the opportunity that you lost yesterday, you can recover it tomorrow. Again, I have grown to admire the male attitude.
Dr. I think as a woman, one of the things that we fear the most is because we fear to lose opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
We live in a world that says, if I lose this opportunity,
yes.
I don't know if I'll ever get another one.
Yes.
So I must comply.
Yes.
If I lose this job, I don't know if I'll get another one. So we want the tangible job,
yes.
but we don't see the intangible,
yes.
The intangible detriment
yes.
to our person, to our, for example, our reputation, because
yes.
many of us don't, we don't see what that is doing to our reputation.
Yes.
And I think for me, always my biggest fear is that whatever you give in to get a promotion or to get something, you have to keep doing it.
Doing that.
So if you have an affair with the boss, in order for you to maintain whatever you are getting, you have to keep at it.
Yes. Looking
at you, you have paid the price,
yes.
but you are still doing okay. What would be your comment to that? You're not doing badly. Yes, maybe you could have been very far. But hey, you are here, you have your dignity,
yes.
you have your pride, you have your reputation, you're doing okay. So what would you say to that?
Thank you. I'll tell the Dadas, it is better to have your dignity intact. Like you have said, Pauline, and you're right in saying that. If you give in to the boss, and here we should not allege that it is only bosses that will aggress.
It could be even the headmaster of that school.
Yes,
you understand?
yes.
The teacher.
Yes.
There are so many instances.
Even other colleagues who
yes.
have privileged positions,
yes.
in the sense, like I might be, this person is my colleague, we're on the same level, at the same level, but has this advantage at the place of work, maybe has good rapport with the boss, he might be able to put in a word.
Yes.
So some of them even take advantage that way.
Yes.
But I will say, there is nothing of yours in this life that will be lost. Number two, any woman who thinks that they should get ahead by sleeping around with their superiors or with their colleagues, they got the mathematics wrong. You get ahead by doing a good job. I will say, I have been diligent. If the boss says be here by 7, I make sure I'm there before 7. By 1:45, I will be there. If the boss says I need this work by Friday, today is Monday, today is Sunday, I will make sure by Tuesday I have finished. I will burn the midnight oil and deliver results. And I've discovered that the biggest secret to avoid this kind of harassment at the place of work, do a good job. If you're an excellent performer, even the man, they let you pass. Because even a boss who has interest in you will not want to lose a good worker. Remember that. And he will know when you stand your ground, they know the women who stand their ground, they can always quit the job. And I will tell you, anytime you leave that job because you have refused to be harassed, you will get another job. You have your mind together, you have your heart together, you have your dignity intact. And this is where I would like to challenge women. I remember something, the former US, she was US Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright. She said, there's a special place in hell for women who do not support other women. There is nothing that disappoints me as women who don't support other women. In the course of my work, I have seen women come to my office and say, this and this happened. I remember one time I picked the phone and I called this man and I said, excuse me, you're dealing with this case for this lady, yes? And you have refused to sign that file because she's not willing to sleep with you? Of course, that was a shocker to him. I said, I've given you 10 minutes. That was sorted. Remember also, because we are in a very expanded litigation latitude today, and there's always this emphasis, oh, go take to court. Tell me, Pauline, if you take a case of sexual harassment to court, what are the chances that you will win that case?
You know, even the evidence I have to produce, some of
You
it
have
is
to
not,
produce evidence. It's not tangible.
It is not tangible. And
the man did not stamp somewhere that I was here.
Exactly.
So
it is neither, and it is what against mine.
Yes.
And it's probably before a judge who is
who is biased,
who is
probably.
biased and probably
or
a
who
man,
is also
you know, one of them.
So
So it may be very difficult.
So then, in that case, women need to be alert and alive to the fact that they should be their number one protectors. What are some of the things that make you vulnerable at the place of work? Doing a poor job.
Of course.
Indiscipline. You're chronic absentee. You're chronic latecomer. You don't finish assignments. You don't have the tools for your business, what it takes for you to deliver in that job. So I'm asking women, I'm encouraging women to activate everything that they need to activate. Go back to school if you need to go back to school. One of the reasons I went back to school, and furiously, was so that I would equip myself with requisite knowledge, skills, and attitudes to beat the space. Now, if I'm the one leading the team, and you're men, what are the chances that you might have the opportunity to aggress against me? And if you ever had that inkling, it is possible that you'll give up somewhere along the way. And this is what I'm telling women, equip yourself. And then remove the mindset that for every woman to be promoted, you must sleep around. That is wrong, wrong, wrong. It's a no, no, no. It isn't. It doesn't have to happen. I've been to many interviews and I have passed those interviews. And majority of the interviewers were men. But I passed. I didn't have to sleep with any of them.
I love it.
Yes. I did not have to sleep with any of them.
Say it like it is.
I have never had to sleep with any man to get a position or to get any opportunity.
So we must become competent.
Become competent. Do your job. Many women, and I'm sorry to say this, Dadas, they are not alive to the fact that they have to deliver service. The service delivery and womanhood and manhood are two different things. Let the women deliver. Let them stand. When you deliver good service, you are on a higher platform. You are at a vantage position. When you go, should I share this with you?
Please share.
After delivering and working so hard, one time, and this is really, really unfortunate, I go to give report to my boss. And this boss says, why did you do all that work? What are you up to? But I know I have been reading the signs and, you know, the telltale signs. I've been reading, I saw it coming. So I know the problem is not that the work, it is because he's been hoping that he would succeed in having an affair with me. My eyes are on the job. So he says, why did you do all that work? What are you up to? I will cut the long story short. But it reached a point, the relationship was so bad, and it was bad because he thought I was not behaving like a woman. You know, a woman should be submissive. Women. Any woman who thinks that word should think of submissiveness from a completely different context. Not to submit to somebody, to a colleague, to a boss who is trying to sexually harass you. That's not the value of submission. Definitely, submission has its own space. This man, one time, things became so bad, and he went to report me to the boss, the CEO then. He went to give false stories about I'm not working, I'm not willing to work. Because when he asked me, what are you up to? Why are you working so hard? I decided to shut him out, continue doing my work without paying any attention to him. So I continued doing my work. But the day he called me and tried to intimidate me, I told him I stopped working. You've not told me to start working. The relationship was so bad. He went to report me. He reported me for insubordination, blah, blah, many things. He called it insubordination. But the history, you see, a bad boss will not follow the history. When he reported me, when I was called, and I'm telling women to listen to this one very seriously, carefully. I knew I could not win talking about sexual harassment. So I just made myself ungovernable, difficult. When the boss tried to read the allegations, I said, tell my boss to marry me. Just tell my boss to marry me, and the way we marry in my place is we take dowry. The man takes dowry to the parent. My mother is a widow. Tell him to take dowry to my mother in Rekanao, and then he can marry me, because I can't work like that. Now you see, that was so non-committal. But because pursuing that line, I think his boss found that line very difficult, so he was moved from my department. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Yes, I won.
Okay, we have to
Yes.
end, but you're just too much. You're too much for me.
But the other things that make women vulnerable,
Yeah.
very quickly, they're susceptible when they have low self-esteem.
Yes, yes.
And when they lack the skill of assertiveness. Those two are critical. But psychology also says women who are much smaller, who are small in size, women who walk pole-pole, they are susceptible, they are vulnerable to sexual harassment than other women. Like, I don't think anybody would mess around with you, pole.
Nobody has ever
Nobody
tried.
would.
Nobody
But
has
because
ever
of my small,
yes,
except God gave me a big voice, which also is
no,
an
God
asset.
gave you spirit.
Hence,
You are very
fighting spirit.
spirited.
Yes.
You've got a fiery spirit.
Yes.
But I must also say that
Yes.
you come across, from the stories that you've shared,
Yes.
there is a sense of wisdom
Yes.
that as a woman you need to
Yes.
navigate the
With-
workplace.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Because you need these men. They're in every space.
Yeah.
So don't go, because the traditional approach is to insult the man, call him names, say you have thin legs, I don't know, you have a big round head, whatever, whatever. You don't want to spoil the relationship to that extent. You want to just be cautious so that you can survive, because you can win the battle but
And
lose
lose
the
the
war.
war.
You
Yes.
don't want to lose the war.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that I have done as a gender-based violence fighter, when I was at the commission, I started a movement called Beacon Teaches Africa. And this was after learning what I learned from my research on sexual violence against children. And now that we are in the period of
Me too.
16 days of activism against gender-based violence, it is good to know that I started that Beacon Teaches Africa, which is actually an initiative to get teachers, more teachers, to appreciate child protection and to see how much value they add when they protect children, particularly and especially against sexual violence.
Okay, we must go.
Yes.
My very, very able director, who is a lady boss, is now very angry with me.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Daktari. we have to go, but this has been an amazing, amazing discussion.
Yes.
Daktari, we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And so have a great week.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank
be
you.
competent, be assertive at the workplace.
Yes.
God bless. Baraka.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been nice.